This is not a video I expected to make. I'm not a game reviewer, nor do I ever plan on becoming one. The extent of my gaming experience over the past 6 months every single day has been me hating myself every time I boot up Dead by Daylight on my PC, and hating myself even more once I'm done playing that wretched game. While I'm not a gamer, sorry boys, I think women deserve rights, I am someone who loves characters. I adore the people that reflect us, either through being a broken individual but good deep down, or someone simply trying to make it one day at a time. I'm not picky either. I love all different types of characters, from an Elton John and Rocket Man trying to find honest love to the impeccably groovy Ash Williams. I do have a soft spot though, because as Aunt May says, everyone loves a hero. Also, Peter, stop leaving your underwear on the bathroom sink, you dirty little fella. Heroes are some of the oldest characters known to mankind, and I've had the pleasure of reading some of those incredible stories. I love me some Beowulf written in that spider tongue known as Old English. Seriously, no English person I know writes or talks like this. The English people actually only know a few things, such as the Queen, play cricket, conquer developing nation, have accent, eat hot crumpet, and tax the colonies. The best heroes can seem like a masterwork of complex writing, such as in Netflix's Daredevil. You have Matt Murdock with so many hopes, fears, loves, regrets, and morals. From his battles with the Hand to him getting freaky with Electra Nachos, he has so much going on that it can seem like a feat of Hercules that the writers didn't forget like an aspect of the character or a story beat midway through writing. In all honesty, the core of a hero is incredibly easy to capture because it's super simple. A fantastic hero is someone that is the best of us while struggling with very human and lowly problems. Take for example Beowulf, who was a prideful, boasting, and powerful man. This motherfucker loves talking about who his daddy was and how he was going to kick every single ass, and I mean every single ass. He also backed up his tough talk with great wins against monstrous enemies. This may not seem like someone who reflects the best of us, as we don't perceive prideful people as containing high moral value, but we have to remember the historical cultural context of this poem. In the society in which this story was written, the warrior code was valued above all else. Bragging and being an overall massive wiener boy was how you gain reputation and respect. You couldn't just post your top 10 best quickscopes from Modern Warfare 3 onto the internet. You had to walk your ass into the meat hall and tell everyone about how you hit the flicky sticky on Terminal against an 11-year-old who had attempted to fornicate with your mother. Heroes are simply a mirror of the ideal man with the ideal values of the society or writer that produces that art. Being ideal doesn't mean you are not going to fail. Far from it. The best heroes fail constantly. Beowulf in his old age becomes king of Geatland and sacrifices himself fighting a dragon with a large dumpy. Beowulf actually dies because he has to uphold the values of his culture. The author even says that with Beowulf's death, the people of Geatland are left without a king. The writer of the poem is critiquing the actions of the great famed hero. That's honestly brilliant writing and pretty fucking poggers, as Chuck E. Cheese Gaming on Twitch likes to say. Poggers! Who let this little twerp onto the internet? I will give that rat the swirly of a lifetime if I ever see him in real life. The core of a hero is simple to write, but there's so many interesting things you can do with such a straightforward character. You can critique the standards of society or subvert the expectations that come with the title of hero. It's an understanding the simplicity as well as the flexibility of the heroic figure that you can clearly see the beauty of Insomniac Spider-Men. Yes, I'm saying Spider-Man because Insomniac said, fuck it, I'm gonna make the best superhero game not once, but twice.
Anyways, my broskies, I gotta bounce. Bounce on your boy's dick. Hey, got him.
The first Spider-Man captures the essence of being a hero with one brutal and amazing scene. Spoilers for the first Spider-Man game, but most of us know the ending of this beautiful game. Aunt May has been infected with Devil's Breath and is on death's door. Peter, after retrieving the antidote from that bitch-made Dr. Octopus, is left with a choice. An insanely brutal choice that tests the heart of a hero. Does he use the cure to save Aunt May, the woman who has raised him like a son, The woman who has endowed Peter with all the values that made him Spider-Man, such as compassion, sacrifice, and self-service for others. Or does Peter use the cure to save the infected people of New York by allowing the doctor to synthesize the small dosage into something much larger? But doing so takes time. Time Aunt May has run out of. The choice may be clear from a certain point of view, but by God, this is not an easy choice. The dramatic weight of this scene isn't whether he'll save Aunt May or not. The dramatic weight comes from us watching him make the choice he knows he has to make despite the pain it causes him. Subconsciously, the audience knows Peter cannot save Aunt May, or else he wouldn't be a hero. As I said before, heroes are those who reflect the ideal values and men of our society. Look at who we value now and put on a pedestal. Firefighters, COVID medical care practitioners, as well as a number of everyday heroes we have amongst us. We value sacrifice in the name of the many highly. Peter is lying to himself throughout this scene. He knows he can't save her. He simply can't do that. The pain you hear as he lies and lies his ass off in order to spare himself and save as much time as possible from doing the deed is heartbreaking.
All the people you've saved.
I don't know what to do.
Yes, you do.
Being a hero isn't easy, and the choices are never breezy. Fuck it, I'm saying it. I honestly think Insomniac captures the heroic choice better than any other piece of media, whether that be book, movie, or smoke signal. It's the king of the crop. With the heroic choice, the main character has to make a decision in which he knows he will lose something of high value, whether that be himself or another person. But that loss is for the greater good. Beowulf made the choice to fight the dragon in his old age despite knowing he wouldn't survive because of his decreased physical strength. He made the choice in order to protect his kingdom. The heroic choice also can't be skipped or outwitted. The hero has to make this decision by himself, and he can't find a loophole around it. The scene where Doctor Strange puts Dormammu into an infinite time loop is rather clever, but also lacks dramatic weight that the movie desperately needs. He has to lose something or else it's a weak event. The best MCU moments can be found when the characters are doing heroic choices, such as Yondu sacrificing himself in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or Iron Man snapping his fingies in Endgame. This is why some of the earlier MCU movies can feel weaker, because they lack these heroic choices due to the fact that they were establishing the universe and didn't want to sacrifice major characters that early on. This scene captures all of the prerequisites that I listed. Peter knows what he is losing by making the choice to save the antidote for the others, and Peter can't outsmart this or find another way around it. If you ever want to know how to write a superhero, Insomniac's first Spider-Man is the way to go. I'm a massive fan of Spider-Man, especially since he's been steered away from the objectivism that laced him originally when he was under the direction of Steve Ditko. That rugged individualism that defines both America and objectivist philosophy has been turned into something much more digestible, and I think Insomniac captures the best qualities of Peter extremely well. Though I would be lying if I told you I didn't have any complaints at all. I think Insomniac's first Spider-Man lacks a sense of community that we see in the very best adaptations of Spider-Man. He feels very friendly, but not so neighborhood, and I can't really harp on Insomniac for that because they weren't necessarily trying to go for that. This all changes with Mr. Exaggerated Swagger of a black teen as the dude from GameSpot who has never seen a black person puts it.
Full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It gives me goosebumps.
Miles is our Spider-Man, as the scene which serves as a homage to one of my favorite Spider-Man scenes of all time so eloquently puts it.
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
Get out of here, kid. We'll take care of them.
You want to get to him, you got to go through me.
And me.
Me too.
Before continuing forth, I just gotta say, I love the 5-head critique that this scene and the Spider-Man 2 scene gets, in that it's just not realistic. They would be taking his photo and uploading it to Reddit for the sick updates. Yeah, of course that's the realistic take of this scene, but as I've said before, superheroes are an idealistic depiction of society, and often we get individual citizens shown in an idealistic manner. I think these scenes are perfect because they show how we can be heroes in our own right, saving these young men from having their lives ruined. I got emotional during this scene because he really is my Spider-Man. As a person of color, I feel represented by Miles. Often in media, we don't get depictions that reflect us, that reflect who we are and our values. We don't get to see a superhero tackle the community values that you find in pocket communities around America that feature ethnically homogenous people trying to make it in a place that has often left them disenfranchised. In a study done on parenting, it was found that minority groups often do shared parenting, in which relatives are more likely to help in raising a child instead of using child care programs such as daycare. In this study, you can see a key value being shown. That is self-sacrifice for the betterment of the community. Miles sacrifices his body and his time to help Harlem. Rio sacrifices her time and almost her life in order to run for city council to help Harlem. Even Tinkerer, through the guise of revenge, is helping her community by trying to take down the Roxxon Corporation, which has been taking advantage of Harlem. Even the people of Harlem are shown to be helping their own, and I think that's why this is a noteworthy point. While we see individual superheroes helping people in comic book media, we rarely see a coordinated effort by the writers to show everyone involved and everyone giving a shit. Miles is a Spider-Man of the people, and we get to see that through his cutscenes interacting with the community as well as the Spider-Man app. That app is one of the greatest inclusions to this game, hands down, because it shows how much Miles gives a shit and reflects the values of his community. I literally swung 4,000 meters to take a selfie with someone because an app post asked for one. I of course made this decision while passing 2 separate gang incidents. You think I give a shit about crime? I'm here for the clout, baby. Outside the selfie, I felt like I was actually helping the little guy in a way no other Spider-Man property has been able to capture outside the comics. By the end of it, I was a part of Harlem, and Harlem was a part of me. While the community aspect is an important part of Miles, the game never forgets the dramatic oomph of the heroic choice. While it's done a little conventionally, I still think it's rather perfect. With the Toshi Station power converter, or whatever the fuck it's called, having been overloaded by Simon Krieger's energy surprise, we are now left with a sticky situation. The reactor is going to explode and decimate Harlem with it. Miles has to make a choice, but in reality, there is only one option for a hero. Miles has to sacrifice his life to save his friends, his family, and ultimately, his community. He is fully prepared to give up his life to protect others because there is no way around what he has to do. He has to absorb the energy of the reactor. There isn't an alternate solution. Miles doesn't get to give up his life in this situation because Tinkerer bears this burden instead, resulting in her death. Now, some may say the weight of this heroic choice is lessened by Miles not dying, but I would argue he still loses something in this situation. He loses his best friend. The hero doesn't have to die in order for the heroic choice to be effective. He or she just has to lose something that can't be returned. This is why characters coming back in a story always cheapens the drama for future events. This same logic also applies to the potential criticism of this being an alternative solution, because the alternative solution part of the heroic choice only becomes a problem if it results in us being robbed of a sacrifice. Insomniac just knows how to do heroes correctly. Both games feature these great moments that show the difficulty of decisions that heroes have to make, but they also show other qualities of why we love heroes. Peter and Miles care for their loved ones, have great mentors with sage advice, fight for the little guy, take care of problems big and small, and make their world a better place. They both feature the greatest Spider-Man attribute of never giving up and fighting even when broken physically and mentally. I love watching Miles climb himself up to the reactor because each step looked excruciating for him. In that pain, Spider-Man the character is captured perfectly. Even in the darkest of times, even in the worst of pain, Spider-Man gets back up. And this resilience is something anyone can have. Spider-Man is about facing your problems head on. You never run from the challenges facing you. Spider-Man doesn't back down in fear when faced with a tough situation. He fights that villain, makes that hard choice, or sacrifices what he needs to sacrifice. All the best Spider-Man properties capture this, and I'm not one to cry over comic accuracy, but Spider-Man is one of the few characters who has certain core qualities that can't be ignored. You can't make a Spider-Man movie or game without addressing these ideas that make the character the best comic hero of all time. I get emotional whenever I watch Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, or play the Spider-Man games because they capture the best parts of Spidey. And the best parts of Spidey are the best parts of ourselves. We create characters to be the best of us, which is why, as my favorite Spider-Man property puts it, anyone can wear the mask.
It always fits. Eventually.
Thanks for watching, gamers. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you'd like me to do more game reviews or analysis, tell me which ones you'd like to hear my thoughts on, and maybe I'll give them a quick reach around. Make sure to click one of these two beautiful videos because they are in fact very handsome. Subscribe, hit the bell, and farewell.